What up? What up? What up? This is your boy X coming to you from PressPlayOnYourDestiny.com. And I want to talk to y'all about, I'ma just tell you, weed, marijuana, the cannabis, the Mary Jane. That's what I want to talk to y'all about. And I think it's important because marijuana is a big subject. It's a big debate on its uses, on its nature as a drug. Um, I'm just gonna come out and tell you, I don't think that marijuana is considered a drug. Okay, drugs, like Cat Williams said it best. Drugs, you have to do shit to it chemically. You gotta, put some water, some baking soda, mix it, stir it up, cook it on high. You know, that's a drug. And I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm actually saying that because it's the truth. And also that cannabis or the substances found in marijuana is actually found in the human body. Our brain, our body actually produces these things called cannabinoids. Okay. And when we smoke marijuana, we just increase these things that we already have inside of us. I'm gonna tell you, for somebody who used to smoke marijuana heavily, I used to smoke all the time, all day. But I used to smoke marijuana because, like a lot of people smoke it now, because of it helps you relax your mind, it helps you ease. And when you can ease, you get deeper revelations. For some of us, it just help us get through life. That's just the truth. And that's some real talk about marijuana. If you don't smoke marijuana for no other reason, it's to help you get through the struggle. Honestly, it puts you in a place where sometimes you forget about everything, and it puts you in a place of enlightenment. Sometimes it gives you direction. Only you know the effect weed has on you. Okay, because weed is considered a mind altering substance. And I think that's one of the reasons why the government tries to label it as a drug, because it alters our state of mind. But that takes me into telling you about um, my own personal views. Marijuana is a gateway substance, okay? And they talk about a lot of drugs are gateway drugs. They open you up to different things. And for anybody that has smoked marijuana, you know that the high, when somebody says that they're high, they're experiencing a state of mind that's almost euphoric. Sometimes you like, man, I sat, for somebody who don't smoke, they're like, man, I sat with my friends, man, and they be high and they just don't know what they be talking about. They just sound so dumb, you know what I mean? But all the other high people understand. They understand because they're on the same level of understanding. And understand that marijuana actually does that. It takes you to another plane of understanding where the things that you would normally think about, you're able to expand them. You're able to expand them because weed, being a gateway drug, this is my theory, that weed is a drug of intention. Any drug is an intentional drug, but the effects that you will get out of weed depends on the reason you're smoking it. What your intentions are while you're smoking marijuana. And I'm gonna give you an example. Most of us uh, that smoke weed, we smoke it because it gets us, it helps us clear our mind. It gives us peace. And when you just struggling, when you sit down and you get that high, man, you zoned out, and any and everything that you wanna think about, it comes up, and you seem to get some type of an understanding. And just like some people, they smoke weed before they go to work. It helps some people focus. I know some people that say, man, I'm gonna smoke this J, and so I could go to work and deal with these people. Or some people say, man, I'm gonna smoke this J so I can, dive into this homework, or so I can study, or so I can write. And it does for them whatever they intended for it to do before they started smoking. And that's why I say that marijuana is an intentional drug. And my whole beef about people nowadays that smoke marijuana, they just smoke it just because. It's almost like they smoke it like it's a cigarette, like it's just some hot commodity that you just actually. Marijuana in itself, the only issue I have with a lot of people is that they limit the things that weed can actually do for you. They actually limit um the drug. You know what I mean? The substance. I'm sorry. I don't want to call it a drug. They limit the substance, by saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna smoke this to help me relax or to get a peace of mind." Depending on your intentions, marijuana can take you to levels that you never even thought about before. You can do a lot of things while you're in this altered state of mind. And to give y'all some brief history with marijuana or some of its uses, if we go back to the shamans, if you know anything about what the shamans were, some people would like to liken them to like witch doctors. These were people back in the day that were the spiritualists in the tribes, and they were really into things like alchemy. And using alchemy is pretty much like in a basic rundown version. Alchemy is very big, but it has a lot to do with magic, using substances in order to create certain things, certain situations, certain scenarios. They use drugs like marijuana, mushrooms, things like that, and they use these types of substances to summon the gods. Also, back in like ancient Rome, the Greeks, I'm pretty sure y'all heard of the word oracle. An oracle was pretty much the being or person that could communicate to God. They were like the vessel for God. And the early Romans, they would get a virgin girl somewhere around 13 or 14, and they would put her on an altar, and they would burn these incense. And it wouldn't just be marijuana, it would be marijuana, mushrooms, all types of mind altering plants. And they would put her in the middle of this altar. And through these drugs, these chemicals, they were able to, the girl was able to talk to God, and they used this girl as an oracle. That's what oracles were. They were basically mouthpieces for God. But in order to get the oracle to the state of mind, they put this oracle. They used these substances. Marijuana was a main substance to get her to a conscious level to where she could communicate with God. And so they would use these little girls that were oracles. They would go to them. It would just be like talking to God, but just talking to this little girl. And this little girl would have power to rage wars, make peace, um, and just make decisions for a whole tribe, for a whole nation. So, understand the roots of marijuana go really, really deep. And marijuana was used for a whole lot of things, okay? And when it comes to marijuana and spirituality, what I want you to understand is that if you're smoking marijuana and you're on a spiritual path, um, be very aware, okay? For the average person that's not really into spirituality but just smoke marijuana just to smoke it is one thing. In my personal opinion, I don't think it really affects them too much. They just smoke it for the high. They don't have a reason. But once you become consciously aware spiritually, um, when you smoke marijuana, it could put you under attack because, like I said, it's a gateway drug. And if you're not ready for the things that will come to you while you're under the influence, I would advise that you limit your marijuana consumption while you're on the path of spirituality, because what happens is the veil is torn. Remember, there's a veil between our human world or human existence and the spiritual world. Once you get into spirituality heavy and smoking marijuana or using mind altering drugs, it automatically puts you into a realm that you're only used to visiting. You see what I mean? It puts you there, it breaks the veil. And so you don't want to get caught or stuck in a realm and you don't know what to do. um I'm being 100% honest with you, because now you're open to a lot more because you are spiritually aware. You're more conscious. That's why certain people that smoke marijuana, I want to say almost everybody that smoke marijuana is almost spiritual in a sense. I mean, that's why you say, you notice a lot of people are uh kind of jumpy, or they say they see things because it's the truth. Even crack cocaine. I was talking to a guy once, and he told me that not just from what he told me, but my research too. Crack cocaine, a lot of people stayed addicted to it because of the spirituality connected to cocaine. One of the common symptoms is for somebody who is heavily into cocaine is to see this white snake that surrounded them. So understand that when you're under the influence of marijuana and different drugs, especially while you're on the spiritual path, I believe you'll be tested more, and more things will come out to you, because typically while you're on the path of consciousness or spirituality, you're trying to get to the spiritual realm. So you might get there every once in a while, but when you're under the influence, you're there. You know what I mean? When you're talking about astral projecting, um, and taking your mind to a whole nother level, marijuana could put you there. And that's where I would tell you to be careful. And in all honesty, I'm gonna tell you, I was the person that used to smoke weed so much it didn't make sense. I was rolling up a J. It was like I was rolling the blunt. It was all day. I smoked weed like cigarettes, to the point to where if it wasn't some type of exotic weed, it wouldn't even get me high. You know what I mean? But I had no reasoning behind why I smoked marijuana. I didn't. So because of that, marijuana just did for me whatever I needed to be done in that moment. And most of the time it was just to relax and to get away, to clear my mind, to ease my mind. That's exactly what marijuana do for most people. But I've learned that there are ways to get through life without smoking marijuana. And once you get on the path of consciousness, you may continue to smoke marijuana, but you will learn that there are ways that you can get the same high without smoking marijuana. Believe it or not, meditation could give you the same exact high, depending on how deep you are into your meditation. You might be dependent on weed now, especially if you're on the spiritual path or the path of higher consciousness. But trust me, you'll let it go really quick. I thought I would never stop smoking. I'm not gonna even lie to you. I was the party boy. I was into smoking, drinking. I mean, whatever. You know what I mean? But as life progressed, as I began to grow and develop as a person, I found that I didn't need these things. See, we attach ourselves to things like alcohol and marijuana because we think that it takes away and it fills a void, when in all honesty it doesn't, because when you come off the high you have the same exact issues. You have to go back to the same problems, probably with a different perspective and a renewed mind, but yet and still the same problems. So I got to learn that through things like meditation and deep breathing, believe it or not, I was able to stop smoking weed. And the other issue I got with people that smoke marijuana is this: if you're going to smoke, it's the blunt wraps that have all the chemicals in it. You might as well be smoking dirt off the ground, or stick your hand in some trash and put it in your weed. You might as well. You know what I mean? That's the, marijuana. If they have bongs, different things, and the smoke itself is what actually really gets to you. The marijuana in itself is cool, but the actual smoke itself, it smoke is considered a vasodilator. Okay, let me put y'all up on some game. I went to school to be a nurse. Okay, marijuana is a vasodilator, not marijuana, but smoke in itself, or cigarettes. It's considered a vasodilator. Okay, that means that your blood vessels, when smoke comes into your body, they constrict. That means they get smaller. If you wonder why you get high, or you feel a head high, or you get a headache, it's because your blood vessels normally are a pretty decent size. It allows blood to go in and out of them. You feel pretty good. But when they're either too open or too constricted, in the case of inhaling smoke, you then cut off the blood flow by making the blood vessels smaller. Think about a water hose, and when you kink off a water hose, all that pressure that builds up, and that's what happens when you smoke. It closes off the blood vessels. It causes headaches. Could you imagine how when you kink off a water hose, how much pressure that is? That's what a headache is. Same concept. So, for my own personal reasons is why I stopped smoking cigarettes, marijuana, black and miles, and everything, because of just the effects it has on the body. And to be quite honest with you, marijuana is good for what it needs to be in the moment. I feel like everybody will find either their way off of it or consuming it a lot less than they used to. You know what I mean? But it's an experience. I mean, if you've never smoked marijuana before, and a lot of people are like, I don't understand him. I ain't never smoked before. Trust me. If you've ever smoked before, you understand the experience that one has when they smoke marijuana. And depending on your intentions, I know I didn't talk much about the intentions, but the intentions is deep when it comes to marijuana. You will manifest any intention that you have before you sit down, roll up that J and smoke it. Anything that you so I'm telling you something that's deep. Your intentions is strong. Whatever you intend before you smoke or do any drug is exactly what you will get from doing the substance. Okay, so don't limit the potential. If you're gonna smoke, I even mentor some boys, and marijuana is a big thing. Everybody do it. And I had one of the boys' mom come up to me and say, my son needs to stop smoking. He's so lazy. All he do is smoke. Well, in this case, this is when smoking becomes a bad habit. The thing is, marijuana isn't supposed to be habit forming. It doesn't have any chemicals in it to have you addicted like alcohol and cigarettes. What we don't become addicted to the weed. I need you to catch this. For those of us that call ourselves addicted to weed, you can't get addicted to weed. What you get addicted to is the feeling. You get addicted to the high. That's what you get addicted to. So in order to break a marijuana addiction, you would have to find a way to get the same high without using marijuana. See what I mean? So back to the story. So the lady was like, her son, he's just so lazy. He smokes weed all day. It's all he do, and he just sits around the house. Now, naturally, for those of us that smoke marijuana, that have smoked marijuana, we know that after you smoke, you have this period of being like on cloud nine, and then when you come down, what is it? Munchy time. And then after munchy time, sleepy time. You get tired. So naturally, I understand why he didn't want to do anything, especially if he smoked that much. Now, this is my problem. They had an issue because I told him I didn't think it was a problem with smoking marijuana. Now, where my issue comes in is now you're not being productive. The marijuana is smoking you. You're not smoking it. So my thing is this: if you're gonna smoke marijuana, I need for you to be productive. Either be productive while you're doing it, or do what you need to do and then smoke your marijuana. I'm not gonna just sit here and tell you that it's wrong and that it's bad because I personally don't believe that. But what I do believe is, if anything, it's not just marijuana. If anything could take you out of being focused and aware or productive, yes, you need to cut the habits. You need to stop. It's not helping you any. You know what I mean? Again, unless you know how to shift your intentions. If that's the case, then the marijuana may have a better effect. But when I sat down and talked to him, I told him this: when it comes to smoking marijuana, it's all our own individual choice. It's either you want to or you don't. You're gonna do it, or you know what I mean, or you're not. But if it's gonna affect you in a negative way, and most of us know if marijuana affects us in a negative way, because I want to say the biggest downside to marijuana, even in people that are consciously aware, is procrastination. You smoke, you're like, I'll do it later. If you know you're that type of person, do it after you smoke after. You know what I mean? You do what you have to do. I'm not telling you you have to cut the habit, but I mean, come on, look at yourself. Look at how it affects you. If it affects you in a negative way, then you may want to reconsider your habit or your addiction. You see what I mean? And that's with anything. That's not just marijuana. That's with sex, gambling. That's with buying stuff. Period. It's not just with marijuana, but the video is I'm talking about marijuana in the video. So to basically conclude everything, no, I don't think that there is a problem with marijuana. It's natural. It exposes you to the spiritual world and the realms of consciousness. This is known scientifically. This is known medically. And there's no question about it. You know, it can help you achieve levels of understanding that you've never experienced before. But again, I tell you, marijuana is an intentional drug. So whatever your intentions are before you smoke it is exactly what will manifest in the process of you smoking or consuming marijuana, I'll say, because everybody don't smoke weed. I know some people who put it in brownies, put it in butter, make cookies, do everything with it. So just be aware. When it comes to marijuana, would I say it's a good or a bad thing? I would say it's neither. It just depends on the person. It depends on how it affects you. But if I'll tell you anything, if that's the biggest thing, understand how it affects you. Marijuana affects everybody differently. So if you're one of the people that gets lazy and don't want to do nothing, re-strategize. And I guarantee you this: eventually, with marijuana, you'll either end up A, stopping altogether, or B, finding a way to reach the levels of consciousness you want another way. That's what I did. Literally, me and marijuana, it was a progressive, like, I just stopped. And I didn't even have a problem with it. You know, in the beginning, I thought I would never stop, like I told you before. But I had gotten so deep into developing myself and learning knowledge. I had gotten so busy with that, and I had gotten such a spiritual high and a conscious high, the same exact high from gaining knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, that I experienced the same types of experiences as though I would smoking marijuana. So um, I would just tell y'all that. Okay, everybody find their own path when it comes. If you smoke marijuana, if you don't, wonderful. Don't do it. If you're not the type of person. If you leery about marijuana, don't do it. Okay. You don't want to put yourself in a situation you can't get out of. But for those of you that do and need answers, there it is. Anywho, until next time, you guys, press play on your destiny. Say yes to your vision. And until next time, you guys, I'll see ya.